My name is Stephanie Broussard. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Recruitment for Lamar University. I specialize in on-campus programs and campus-based programs for domestic students. This session is about our Educational Leadership Doctoral Program here at LU. It is one of the most sought-after programs, and it's one of the most programs that I get the most inquiries for through my email and through our website. So just so you know, we sent out about 500 invitations to students from all over the place. So we're expecting a big group. So with that being said, we're expecting a lot of questions. So I'm trying to work through this and navigate through all the questions as they come in. So a lot of folks wanted to have information about this, so we wanted to make sure we put this together for everyone. Also, a few housekeeping things. I want to introduce Leela. Her camera should be on. She is going to be our ASL interpreter for this session. And I also want to introduce Courtney. She'll be providing closed caption services for this session. Just so you know, your videos are going to be turned off and your mics are going to be muted. And this is to ensure your privacy and to avoid any background noises and distractions. We are recording this session and we're going to be posting it on our visit page. So, you know, if you have to dip out or if you have to come back or you have a meeting, then you'll be able to get the entire thing by visiting our lamar.edu/visit site. You can ask your questions using the chat option down at the bottom of your screen. Questions will be answered by myself and Dr. Welch at the end of the session. We hope to make sure that we answer everyone's questions. We did invite a large group, so we're going to be working our way through the questions towards the end. So please bear with me. And if we're not able to answer your particular question, please feel free to send me an email with your question, and I'll make sure that we get it answered for you. I usually respond within 24 hours. And I think everyone should also have my text message number too. So please feel free to shoot me your questions. Also, I strongly encourage you to drop your email address in the chat box. So when you drop your email address, I want to thank you for attending our session today. I'm going to send you an email after the program or after the session, and I'm going to request your physical address so that I can send you a very fine Lamar University bumper sticker postcard. So it won't tear up your car. You can put it on your refrigerator or your laptop or something just to show your love for LU. So I want to make sure that we get one of these out to everyone that's interested in getting one. So please drop your email and I'll email you after the session. So our presenter today is Dr. Welch. He is the program director and my all-around go-to person for any in-depth and curriculum-based questions about this program. I have probably referred a large number of you to him when you ask me very specific questions about dissertation or coursework or course layout or degree plans. So he is my all-around go-to person and he is one of my favorite people. So without further ado, I'm going to let him take over the show. And Dr. Welch, can you go ahead and hit share screen? He's going to have a presentation for us.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. Can everyone hear me okay? Make sure my audio is all right.
Yeah, we got you.
My name is Brett Welch, and I'm the director of Ed Leadership Program here at Lamar. And I'm going to walk you through just kind of an overview of the program. As you can see, the first slide there says general information. But before I get to that, let me, as I was putting this together, I think I kind of forgot the group to which I'm going to be presenting. So you all may not know if this program is in fact right for you. So let me just start with that before I get to some of the general information about the program. I'd say roughly 75% of the students that come into our program are within the K-12 system. Usually administration within a school, assistant principal or principal and up, assistant superintendent. We have some superintendents as well. It's not just nationwide, but it's global. We've had students from all over the world, literally. But with that said, being a member of the Texas State University system, the large majority are from the state of Texas. We do have some teachers, but not many. Most teachers are usually working on their master's, and upon receiving their master's, they move on to a more administrative type position. Hence, the doc program is where most of our students, is the program that many of our students are looking into. And their goal, let me just talk about that group real quickly. Their goal is to use this degree to make them more marketable for moving up within the K-12 system. So for example, in the state of Texas, if you're in a small rural district, which many of the ISDs are, as maybe a assistant superintendent or even a superintendent, by gaining this degree, you become more marketable to move to one of your larger areas, your Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, those surrounding ISDs, where obviously there's more responsibility, but there's also more pay, more students. So this is not a certification program. So it doesn't automatically ensure that you're going to get one of those positions, but it does in fact make you more marketable for those. So a large group of our students are Texas K-12 educators with that scenario in mind. We do have some that are in the K-12 system that want to leave the K-12 system and want to earn this degree to look to become faculty in higher ed. So we have some that are in K-12 that want to leave K-12, not move up within. Then the other group, and I'd say it's probably around 25%, the rest of the group, there are some that are not in education at all. I'll talk about that in just a second. But the rest of them are higher ed. And the goal there is twofold. One would be if, let's say, you are director of admissions, director of student housing, director of financial aid, kind of a mid-level management position, you have a master's degree in the higher ed setting. And by earning this degree, you put yourself in a position to move into a dean level or vice president level position. Most of those positions in higher ed are going to require a terminal degree. So this degree is perfect for that. So for those higher ed people who are in administration but are kind of hitting a wall in regards to moving up, they're looking to get this degree to once again market themselves to move up within higher ed. We also have some that are in higher ed that are, let's say, director of financial aid or assistant registrar, one of those type positions that want to leave administration altogether and want to move into the faculty ranks. So this degree gives you that opportunity as well. So that's kind of the demographics of who make up this program. We do have some, and a very small number, 3 or 4 at a time, that are not in education, and they're just looking to further their education, and a leadership doctoral degree is what they were looking for. We do not, we will admit those students under the right scenarios, but the majority of the students in our program fit those scenarios that I just described. Let's move just to some general information. I put some things up front that I know you probably want to know right away. What's the cost of a program like this? It's approximately $30,000. The reason I say approximately is because, as you see in the next set of bullets, it's a 60-hour program with 48 hours of coursework and 12 hours of dissertation. The 12 hours of dissertation, ideally, you would take 6 hours one semester and 6 the next, and you wrap up. But I think I have a little bit further down the presentation, maybe talk briefly about timeline. Sometimes it takes longer to complete a dissertation. One of the characteristics of students in a educational doctoral program is that you all are working full time. So, and oftentimes at a point of your career where you're very busy. So to complete the dissertation in those 12 hours is sometimes not realistic, and it takes a little bit longer. And that's why we put approximately 30,000. It runs the course for about 2.5, 3 years with the coursework and the dissertation combined. We begin our cohorts in the summer, and we run 2 5-week sessions. So you start off with 6 hours, beginning in June, running to early July, and then early July into early August. And that kind of gets our students going and initiated into the world of an online doc program. And by the fall, we have you move into 9 hours. And the way we do that, you take 9 hours, but one course runs the duration, the full 15 weeks of the semester, and the other 2 courses are 8 weeks. So you take 9 hours every fall and spring as you matriculate through the program, but you're never taking more than 2 classes at a time. And then we roll back into the next summer where you're back to your 6 hours, and we move forward in that manner until you reach the 48 hours, and then you enter into dissertation. It's continual enrollment, meaning that we highly recommend that you do not sit out. Life happens, so sometimes students have to sit out, but the problem with sitting out in any doctoral program for that matter is these courses, it's not like, for example, an English 101 that's offered 15 times per semester in all different formats. These courses are offered, every year and a half or so, or, that's kind of how the course cycle moves forward. So if you miss one, you can't just pick it up the following semester. So we encourage students to continually enroll with the 6 hours in the summer and the 9 fall, spring. It's completely online. Okay, so this is 100% online. All the courses are built within Blackboard. And we do have Adobe sessions. And it's very similar to what you're witnessing right now. Depending on the faculty member and depending on the content of the course, sometimes they meet as often as once a week, let's say Thursday night from 8 to 9 Central Time. Others might meet once at the beginning of the course and then not meet again. It really depends on the content. Couple of things. These are not mandatory. They are recorded. So if Thursday from 8 to 9 does not work for you, you do not have to log in. You won't be counted off, and you can just watch the recording. Also, they're not really lecture sessions. Sometimes they are. For example, we have a couple of writing courses. So within a 45-minute to an hour session, you can teach some writing skills, or you can go to the online library. There's some things that we can do within that time frame. But most of the time, it's more of a Q&A and just kind of an opportunity for the students to log in and have a chance to check in with the faculty to make sure that we're all on the same page concerning assignments and due dates and things such as that. Again, everything's built within Blackboard. I have some things for tips for success. I'll come back to that in a second. Let me just jump down here to faculty and talk a little bit about who teaches these courses. Of course, there's my information. I'm the director, and we have 10 full-time faculty. But back to the courses, we team teach. So let's say, for example, you have a quantitative research course, and there are 60 of you in there. There'll be 4 faculty, maybe 5. And each of us will have 12 to 15 students assigned to us, and there'll be a lead. And that lead faculty will facilitate the course, kind of be the go-to in regards to whether or not we're going to have Adobe meetings, and if we do, when we're going to have them. But you'll have an instructor of a record assigned to you. So the courses are team taught, fully online. Most of the time you have one of our full-time faculty members working with you, but you do have, at times we have adjuncts, which are kind of going back to, why students come into a program like this. Some students earn a degree like this and continue working in, let's say, the K-12 system, and then use their degree to do some side work in a program like ours as a visiting lecturer or an adjunct. So that's kind of how the layout of the courses are set up. And again, there's 48 hours. We have the type of courses you're going to have 9 hours of research. You'll have 6 hours of writing. Those courses are really geared towards the dissertation, building your skill set, I should say, of the dissertation, learning how to write in that manner, writing in a scholarly level that is needed for dissertation is different from the way most of us write coming through school. APA formatting, referencing, and all of that. And then, of course, we have the research courses. A lot of students these days, back in the day when you came through a master's in ed research, you did a master's in ed leadership. You would do a thesis, and you'd have some research background. A number of years ago, they kind of moved to a portfolio type setup. So you take courses in your master's program, many of you probably know what I'm talking about, and you do a portfolio, which is fine. I'm not against that by any means, but you come out of a master's and into a doc program with very little research experience. So we have an intro to research course, and then we have a quantitative and a qualitative course. So 9 hours of research. And between the 9 hours of research and the 6 hours of writing, we hope that we build your skill set so you're ready to write the dissertation at the end, which I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes as we wrap up, or at least wrap up with what I have to say. And then the rest of the courses are, educational research, dynamics of global education, current events. I'm trying to think of some other titles. I'm bad with titles. But the point is they're ed research courses, many of which are geared towards the global education because it is a concentration in our program. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're preparing you to study abroad or to teach abroad as much as you can. Obviously, it's nice to have on your vita to show that you have an educational doctorate degree with a global education angle to it. But most of our students use that to work with students that come to their school districts that are from different backgrounds. Okay, so understanding leadership and education on a global stage is kind of our goal with those other core classes outside of the research and the writing. Coursework and dissertation, well, that's kind of what I want to talk about right there, the research sequence and writing sequence and global leadership sequence. I think the other area that most students are interested in knowing about is the dissertation. The dissertation, it takes graduate school to another level. If you've already been to graduate school and have a master's, I would say the coursework in this program is probably a little bit more intensive than what you had in a master's level, but not much. A little bit more research oriented, but coursework is manageable. But I don't see an issue there with many of our students. The dissertation is where I say they, but some will struggle. And it has nothing to do with skill set, their knowledge, or anything like that. It's usually a time management situation. Again, most educational doctoral students are working full time. They're involved with other things outside of work. And of course, they usually have family. So to manage a dissertation process becomes difficult. It is very doable though. We have a traditional dissertation option and a dissertation and practice option. I'll talk about that in just a second. We run a 3-person committee. That's good because the fewer number of faculty that are on a committee, the less chance you have of having issues with either the student having an issue with the faculty member or faculty members working together in a manner that's not conducive to your needs. So by having a 3-person committee really helps. And as for a timeline, for example, we have a group of students entering into dissertation this June. None of them will graduate in August, and we'll have some that will get out in December. That's doable. It's pretty ambitious, but it's doable. And then others will finish up probably in May. So it's within about 6 to 9 months, I think, is realistic. But then of course we do have some that hit a snag that takes a little bit longer. Let me go to tips for success. So how, once you're in a program like this, what are some tips for success and give you some ideas as a prospective student on if this is, doable for you, knowing what you know about your current job and the time commitment that you have. We suggest that early in the program that you start thinking about a topic. Topic's not a great word, though. I like more of the idea of the term idea. Many of you, a dissertation topic is a problem. It's a concern. It's an issue. And since many of you are in the trenches, and whether it's K-12 or higher ed, working in these positions that I mentioned earlier, you have concerns, problems, and issues. So it's very natural for those to become your dissertation topic. So it helps if you come into the program with an idea of what you want to study, so you can start building your lit review. So in all these courses, these 48 hours, oftentimes there's going to be assignments that are going to require you to collect some literature, do some article reviews. If you do all of that work in one area, then when you get to the back end, you're not starting with a blank slate. So we like to endorse that idea of thinking of an idea early in the program, so you build along the way. Of course, committee selection, I mentioned that earlier. That's really important to get people, as you take classes, to identify faculty that you like and you feel you can work with, and select them for your committee. And then, of course, the design. You'll take a quantitative class and a qualitative class. If in fact you choose to come to this program, I keep saying you will. You may not choose to do this, but our students select quantitative or qualitative, and that's really important as well. And we as faculty pride ourselves in really the correct word is counseling at that stage, counseling you into the right design. What is your timeline? What is your work load at this point? What do you have going on in your life? And here are some ideas in regards to a design to help expedite this and not keep you coming back semester after semester trying to write this dissertation. So those are some things that we work with we work as faculty with the students along the program along the way. So when they get to the dissertation stage, again, like I mentioned before, you're not starting with a blank slate. There's substance there that can help get the writing process started. Let me wrap up with this, and then we'll be open to any questions you may have. I want to talk about, I mentioned before, the dissertation options. This is something that we've been doing for about 2 years now. We piloted it for about a year, and now we're deeply embedded into it. And I'd say the majority of our students go this route. And I think it's important for prospective students to hear this. And it's not just Lamar. Most educational doctorates are moving to this, and we call it a dissertation in practice. Another term would be a project-based study. And the advantage to it is, going back to my comment on the demographic of students in a program like this, most are practitioners. So whether it's K-12 or higher ed, you're not researchers. It's not in your wheelhouse to do that on a day-to-day basis. Instead, you are building workshops, you're giving presentations, you're running reports, you're teaching, you're managing, whatever it is that you're doing. It's hands-on, it's practitioner-based, working with people. So a dissertation in practice lends itself to that. So it's still a dissertation, don't get me wrong, but there are certain areas, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but there are certain areas of a traditional dissertation that we back off a little bit. For example, a traditional dissertation literature review may be 30, 40 pages. A dissertation in practice lit review may be 12 to 15 pages. Sounds like, why would I ever do a traditional if I could do a dissertation in practice? What's the trade-off? Well, the trade-off is, in a traditional dissertation, you write it, you submit it, and you're done. Your findings, that's it. In a dissertation in practice, the focus is on implications for practice. So here are my findings, but now let's take it a step further. What can I do with it? When you take a research class, you hear the terms reliability and validity. All your data has to be reliable and valid. It's very true. But in a dissertation in practice, we want that data to be usable. That's the word that we kind of stress. So these dissertations in practice are dissertations. They do have lit review. You do run stats, or you do a qualitative where you do interviews, depending on the model that you go, and you present your findings. But we take it to another level where you're able to, it could be a workshop, it could be a professional development opportunity, it could be a handbook, a mentorship program, something that you build that goes on the back end of this. So that's kind of the big difference between the two. And I like students to hear that, because many students who are considering a doctoral program are intimidated by the dissertation, as they should be. It's a lot of work. But the dissertation in practice, I think, pulls it back a little bit in areas where most of our students are not as familiar, and instead focuses on areas in which they're very familiar, which is your practitioner-based learning. So that's I think a real positive these days with our program is the option of writing a dissertation in practice instead of a traditional dissertation with the pages and pages of literature and findings. I'm sure I have forgot a number of things, but I'm sure there's also a lot of questions. So Stephanie, if I can give it back to you, or how you want to do this, I can take the PowerPoint down, and I'm open to any questions anyone may have.
Okay. All right, let's see. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. And yes, we are in the question and answer time. So definitely, let me get there. And we do have a lot of questions. Yes, we do have a lot of questions. And I was trying to navigate my way to getting all that stuff taken care of for us. Just, okay. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Can you see it, Dr. Welch?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so yes, we do have a few questions. Um, of course, one of the big questions that we get is how do we apply, or how do I apply? So, and I think that you might have mentioned it, but I'll say it again. This program only takes summer admits, so you wouldn't be able to apply for this program for fall or spring or anything like that. They only start in the summer. So, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Welch, the summer 2020 cohort has been selected and they're going to be starting soon. So the next application process, or the next cohort, would be going through the admission process for summer 2021. So if you are wanting to apply, that is great. We'd love to have you. You would start off with Apply Texas, applytexas.org, and you would complete that application. I would say it's probably about 15 minutes. Our application fee is typically $25. I know that due to the COVID-19 situation right now, we're actually waiving all of our application fees. This particular application should go, the summer 2021 application should go live, I believe in August or September of 2020. So I don't know if we're going to be waiving application fees up until that time, but I mean, please feel free to keep checking in until that time. Hopefully we're still waiving application fees at that time. If you are a student that has currently applied for the summer 2020 cohort and you're looking to apply for summer 2021 and your application is currently incomplete, please make sure you shoot me an email so that I can withdraw your application and so that we can waive your application fee for the next term. Because definitely, you know, if you've already paid it, I wouldn't want you to pay it again. So you would apply it, you would start your application in Apply Texas. You would need to get all your transcripts in from all your four-year institutions. We actually don't need community college transcripts to make a graduate decision. You would also need to take the GRE. And upon taking the GRE, the code for Lamar is 6360. You would actually have to have ETS send your scores to Lamar. We wouldn't be able to take your scores like if you sent a score report yourself, or if you put it in a PDF or something. It has to come directly from ETS. So I manage the university application. Dr. Welch manages the departmental application, and I'm sure he'll kind of go into what's required on the departmental application. Dr. Welch, you want to take that part?
Sure. Like Stephanie said, you go through Apply Texas, and that's your GRE and your transcripts. And then once you're past that stage, you'll move on to the departmental review, where it's a writing sample, and it goes to the faculty, and we review it that way.
Okay. And let's see, we got a few questions here. I'm going to start at the top. Goodness gracious. All right. Do you all take transfer credit? So I'm assuming that this is like if you have a master's degree already, or maybe if you started a doctoral program somewhere else. I think that's what this question is for. If you started a doctoral program somewhere else, Dr. Welch, does your program take transfer credit hours?
Up to 6 hours. So unfortunately, if you start a doc program and let's say have 30 hours under your belt and something happens, you want to transfer to our program, you can in fact transfer. And we would look at your transcript, and if you took as many as say 30 hours, there's probably 6 hours in there we could take, but that's all we would take. It's up to 6 hours. They have to be direct matches of our courses, and they have to be at the doc level. So the answer to that question is usually you start with a clean slate. Very seldom will students come in, because most don't have any doctoral. If you don't have any doctoral coursework experience, then the answer is no. It's got to be doc level. But for those of you who have started a doc program, we will take up to 6 hours depending on what they are.
Okay. And I think you might have answered this already, because I think you might have said something about it's not recommended that you stop the program while you're in the program. But do you have to be a full-time student each time, or maybe can you like take one class? You know, if you have a lot going on, can you take maybe 2 classes? Do you have to take the full course load each time to stay up with the cohort?
It's encouraged. I'm about to say I don't think it's required, but I think in the handbook it says you have to. But we do have students that, of course, if something happens um, and you're moving forward at a nice rate and something happens, we're not going to kick you out of the program. But it is encouraged simply because, as I mentioned before, if you start sitting out, you'll miss courses and you'll get to a point where you're sitting out one semester, but then the next semester rolls around, you take a class and you got to sit out the following semester because there's no courses for you to take. It's kind of a domino effect, and it gets you backed up a little bit. So it can be done, but it's discouraged.
Okay. How selective is this program? I guess, I guess the best way to answer this, how many students do you usually take each summer?
It's dependent. The administration gives us a number. That's not my call, but I can give you an idea. We'll have probably 250 to 300 people that will apply. Out of that number, and Stephanie could say, speak to this more than I, but out of that number, not all of them will submit all the documents. So that number gets funneled down to a little bit smaller to where now we're looking at let's just say 160, 170 that have everything in place ready to go. The administration will give us a number probably in between 60 to 75 is what we take in. I've been here, I'm moving into my 5th year. I think we took 60 early when I started, and now we're up to around 75, and somewhere in the middle around Harvey, we took about 80. So it really just depends, but that's kind of the range. So maybe a little less than a half that apply are accepted.
Okay. Thank you for that. Why is the GRE required? See, I got this one a few times.
Yeah, that's above my pay grade. Let me give you a quick history on that. Most programs are going to require the GRE going back for a number of years, and then some of them have slowly stopped requiring that. We inquired, and it got kicked back that we need to continue to require it. So I tried to negotiate a little bit to where let's go, if we're going to require it, let's go ahead and take some of the older scores. That too has not been passed. So not only do you have to have the GRE to apply for this program, but it has to be under 5 years. We had a number of students a couple of years ago that had the GRE, but it was 8 or 9 years old. And I personally was okay taking that, but we were told we needed to have current scores. So I know it's not a great answer other than to tell you right now, you have to have a GRE under 5 years, and we use that score and combine it with your graduate GPA to get a formula score to move you on to the departmental review. By the time this fall rolls around, I'm sure the discussion is going to be brought up again on whether or not we need to require it, and if we do, can we take older scores? If that changes, I'll be the first person to put it on our website, but as of right now, you have to have the GRE, a current GRE score.
Okay. Speaking of the GRE, what is the minimum GRE score that we must have?
There really isn't one. It's a formula. So, and the reason we do that is, again, many educational doctoral students have been out of school for quite a while. So let's say, for example, some of the math that's on the GRE is something you're pretty far removed from. I know I would be. So if you have a really high graduate GPA, so let's say your GPA is a 3.8, 3.9, a 4.0, but your GRE is a little bit lower than what you'd expect, it balances it out to reach a formula score where you can move forward. The only way I see students get hung up with the GRE is if the GRE is a little bit below average and their graduate GPA is, let's say, 3.4, 3.5, a little bit below average. Those are the students that kind of hit a wall with that component of the admissions process. Other than that, if you have a high graduate GPA, if you just take the GRE, usually that score you earn fits into the formula to where we move you on to the departmental review.
Okay. And I'm going to try to fit in like 2 or 3 more questions, and I'm going to give y'all some closing remarks. But this was a good question. What about superintendent and principal certification? Do any of those courses transfer into this program, or could we use some of those courses to transfer into this program?
No, that's a good question. A little history. They used to be transferred in a number of years ago before my time. So again, I'm moving into my fifth year. So 7, 8, 9 years ago, that was the practice. So there are students out there that hear that. So it's not really a myth. It used to happen, but it has not happened in the past 4 to 5 years. So superintendent and principal certification programs are standalone. And many of our students in our program come from those programs, those certification programs, but their credit hours do not.
Okay. What is the difference between a PhD and an EDD? And someone had mentioned I was looking for a PhD and this is an EDD. Is there a difference? What is the difference?
There's a few. It's a great question. Kind of goes to the comment I made with the dissertation in practice. Okay, a PhD is not going to have that. PhD programs are geared more towards, so for example, if you're looking to teach at be a faculty member, hold faculty rank at university, chemistry, history, biology, sociology, most of those faculty are going to have PhDs and they do a traditional dissertation. It's strongly research-based. Most of those people come out of their master's program directly into a PhD program, whereas the PhD program is in fact their job. Their research is their job, okay? EDD programs, students obtain a master's and usually sit out for a number of years and they go to work, whether it be in higher ed or K-12. And then wanting to move up, they say, well, I need to get my doctorate now. So they're coming back and getting an EDD to move up within the field of education. So it's not, they're not heavy into research. It's more practitioner based, which goes back to the option of dissertation and practice. So that leads to the question, well, if I want to enter in this program, and do I have the option to teach in higher ed? If you're telling me now that most faculty are PhD, and the answer to that is yes. Because if you looked at our faculty, I have a PhD in curriculum instruction, but the majority of our faculty, and if you were to go to other EDD program sites and look up the credentials of their faculty, most of them will have EDDs. So this is an exception. You can be faculty with an EDD, but to answer your question, most PhDs are research-based with the goal of working at a university, teaching and doing research, whereas an EDD program is practitioner-based.
Okay, yeah, I actually get that question a lot. Okay, I do have one more question and then we're going to close it out. So I want to make sure I have enough time to give you closing remarks. And I think we could probably already answer this one. This one was, can we get that PowerPoint sent to us? But actually this session is being recorded. So you'll be able to view this PowerPoint, this whole presentation online at lamar.edu/visit. So unless Dr. Welch, I don't know if you want to send out your PowerPoint, but it will be available online on our visit page. You have anything else for us, Dr. Welch?
No, you all have my contact information. Feel free to reach out. If we didn't get to your question, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to answer it.
Yes, and you have Dr. Welch's information down there as well as mine. Like I said, I kind of assist with the university application process, and Dr. Welch is my complete go-to person for everything that's specific to this program in terms of curriculum and dissertation and all that good stuff. I do thank you, Dr. Welch. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend some time with us. I do also thank each and every one of you for spending some time with us here at this 2 o'clock hour. Hopefully y'all didn't get too much of the magic school bus in the background. Just let me also say, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook, Lamar U Admissions. Also, we'll be having some more program geared sessions. So if you go to our Lamar Visit site, you'll be able to see that we have quite a few things lined up. We have Masters of Public Administration. We actually have a graduate financial aid session on May 6th at 4 o'clock, where the financial aid department will be talking just about financial aid for graduate students. We also have MBA at the end of the month. And we also have accounting, I believe, like around May 18th or so. So if you have any questions, and please also remember to put your email address down in the chat so that I can send you an email to get your address so I can send you this wonderful Lamar bumper sticker. It will not tear up your car. Hopefully, I know that we might have not got to all the questions, but like Dr. Welch said, please feel free to email us. And I do definitely look forward to working with each and every one of you if you decide to come and start your or continue your education here at LU. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you
Have
all. Thanks, Stephanie.
no problem. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.